Okay, this is a working meeting of the school committee, and I would just say for you, for all who attended, thank you. I know it's a summer night. People have plans to do other things. I appreciate you coming. This is not a meeting to cast blame or point fingers. It is about fixing the problem. It is about looking at how we got to where we are and fixing that so we don't end up in the same predicament again. And that is the tone that I'll set for the meeting tonight. And so we have an agenda here. And
The city of Leominster, a small city with a population of 41,663. Just another city in central Massachusetts. Not too much happens here. Our most recent claim to fame was the appearance in a BuzzFeed video because apparently our name is too hard to pronounce.
I got a few cousins that know their Gloucesters from their Gloucesters, so I think I can do this.
Leominster.
Leominster?
Llama.
Leominster.
Leominster? Leominster?
What the hell happened to the O?
It is a quiet city, full of homebodies and people who have planted their roots here. They raise their kids here. It has been known, however, that Leominster is a gateway city.
Leominster is a gateway city. What does a gateway city actually mean? According to the Brookings Institute and the Massachusetts Institute for a New Commonwealth, a gateway city is defined by four things: higher than state average unemployment, lower than state average median family income, assets with unrealized potential, so empty buildings and space, as well as underperforming schools.
What do these things mean for the people of Leominster? What has caused this problem? What is our course of action? Are these things going to be permanent, or just a Band-Aid on a hole that keeps growing? In recent years, the tax rate in Leominster has been rising quite rapidly.
The chart shows the 10-year history of the tax rate in Leominster, and you can see we start at fiscal year 7 at 10.88, fiscal year 16 at 19.58, and I should actually add this sticky note right here because for fiscal year 17, we are at 19.73, 30th highest in the state. Let's talk a little bit about the budget disaster of 2017 in a little bit more detail. Thank you. And talk about the school crisis. You will recall we've had 200 pink slips go out. We had 96 employees laid off. That was across the board. So that was from custodians, secretaries, paraprofessionals, tutors, both special ed tutors and so forth, and teachers. We had just recently reported 34 teachers resigned, many of them veteran teachers who had been here for a long time, committed to being in Leominster for most of their career. We have reduced course offerings, we have increased class sizes, extracurricular activities and programs have been reduced, fees have been increased, and as you will see, expanded. Now, as a parent, could you imagine your child in a class of 400 in the high school auditorium, or your grandchild in a first or second grade class of 35 or 40 even? Could you imagine that? How much learning would actually be going on?
So the city has been increasing the tax rate to nearly double of what it was 10 years ago. What is the cause of this, and where has this money gone? The school system is not the answer to this question. At the end of the 2016 school year, the city had released a statement saying that there was a budget issue one that resulted in a deficit of nearly $5.6 million.
I think budget mismanagement in the part of the superintendent as well as the school committee. The mayor can't necessarily do what they can when it comes to deciding on finances. So once the school committee allocates money to go into the school department, Jim Jolliker, who was our superintendent, he has the job of where to spend it and allocate it after that. So if he didn't spend it correctly or it couldn't be found, that was on him. So I think that's where we went wrong in allowing someone who had poor fiscal management to fiscally manage our school department. And it's kind of a shame that the school committee also didn't take responsibility because they were also the ones allocating a lot of funds that we just didn't have and left us in that deficit.
What exactly is this budget crisis that has enraged the city? When the statement was released at the end of the school year, the school committee and the mayor were working away with how to allocate the budget. When they finalized the budget of $23,746,875, the issue arose when the mayor, after having a unanimous vote of 8-0, went to the city council and had changed the numbers, reducing it to $19,639,910.
I don't like the idea. We talk about teachers getting laid off. We talk about nurses getting laid off. But we don't talk about students getting laid off because that's what's happening right now. We have to realize the students are being laid off and we're not doing a damn thing about it. It's very frustrating for me because my hands are tied. We voted on the thing 8-0. And then I went to the city council, and they voted 5-4. I wish they would have voted against it. Mother of Jesus and the little donkey at the bullwhip. I would have loved to have seen that.
All right. Ron, Heather?
Anyway, that's it.
Thanks, Ronnie.
The results of this were catastrophic for the school system. At the end of the school year, 208 letters of non-rehire were sent out to the employees. 127 of these were teachers. Among others were janitors, totaling 26 junior custodians. This did not help when the school year started.
I think the biggest impact students are seeing right now is with the understaffing, only because from what I've heard, there's 35 kids in an anatomy and physiology class at the high school right now, and there's not enough desks, there's not enough books, and there's not enough chairs. So kids were sitting on the floor. Hopefully, we do end up making up some funds, whatever way we can, whether it be tightening our fiscal reins or other options, but I think that's what's hurting them the most. When they cut the senior custodians, that was also affecting them because they were getting sick and the buildings were filthy and kids did not go to the bathroom because they were infested with feces and things that janitors take care of and that we appreciate them taking care of. So that was another a huge issue that hopefully will be resolved soon because we did agree to hire back the senior custodians and junior custodians.
I think it's kind of good that this happened tonight, that we're all stuffed like anchovies in a can in this room, because it's going to be symptomatic of what happens in our schools in 44 days when you have pink-slipped 99.9% of the technical department within this district. Nobody knew how to set up the auditorium, except for some of our certainly professional personnel here. But I'm glad that they stood strong in solidarity with the rest of us and weren't asked to, or maybe if they were, said no to setting this up someplace else, because it isn't their job. The people whose job it was no longer work for us.
I think what we should do is look into our city's budget as a whole and discuss free cash and discuss our stabilization account, because according to the Department of Revenue, we have too much money in our free cash.
What is free cash? The definition is actual revenues in excess of revenue estimates and unspent amounts in departmental budgets for the year just ended, plus unspent free cash balances from the previous year. That is according to the DOR from February of 2016. The Department of Revenue says that certified free cash totals should be between 3 to 5% of the city's annual budget, and this is considered fiscally responsible. Leominster, however, averages 6 to 8% of our budget, ending up in free cash. This is not fiscally responsible.
And our stabilization account is meant for disasters, but I felt like our school department fiasco was a disaster, and that money could have been used to prevent staff cuts and things like that. So I think we need to look at free cash and see how we can kind of make the funds equal across the board, because understandably, schools do get the majority of the funding, but it's still not enough because the state isn't funding us adequately either.
Let's answer the question, how competitive is Leominster, by looking at our school funding chart. Okay? So how competitive is Leominster? Comparing how competitive the Leominster schools are to other school districts in the state. So the last column here is the percentage of school districts who fund at a higher percentage of net school spending. I will tell you that for fiscal year 17, 98% of the 319 school districts in the state were better funded than Leominster Public Schools. 98%. This made Leominster the 9th lowest funded school system in the state.
So, former Superintendent Jim Jolliker may or may not have played a role in what was called the budget crisis of 2017, but he is just that, former. Just prior to the mayoral election of 2017, Jim announced his resignation from his position of superintendent. With his resignation so close to the city elections, it raised questions as to whether or not this was planned prior to this time. He did not give any explanation as to why he left the seat.
I think it was a long time coming. It was expected, but it wasn't expected on the day that it was on the day that it happened, I guess. It was kind of a great election move on Dean Mazzarella's part, if he had anything to do with it, because it was kind of a hero move in that he got the evil villain away from the school department that everyone's been asking him to do for so long. I think it was too late. I think that they should have listened to the LEA and the staff, and when they voted no confidence in him 2 years ago or so, and when he had the whole entire fiasco with the teacher salaries, that should have been another kind of inkling that he wasn't fit for the job. So I think that he was a good guy, and I think he had a lot of good intentions and good ideas, but he just wasn't the right fit here.
So where do we go from here? Questions began to arise far before this resignation. On July 17th, the school committee had planned on hosting a meeting to finalize the budget after many heated debates as to how to allocate the money to make up for the nearly $5.6 million missing from the school budget. This meeting was planned to be held in the auditorium of the high school, which can hold up to 1,000 people. But since the custodial staff had been terminated as part of the preliminary cuts, there was nobody that could get into the auditorium and set up. The alternative, a small restaurant the culinary arts department runs in the high school called Appleseeds, a place in size similar to or smaller than the stage in the auditorium. It became clear that this was not a reasonable substitute.
Good evening. Can you hear me back there?
Sorry, I was out in the bushes. Thank you very much. I didn't sign up to speak, but decided I really wanted to.
I wasn't going to speak tonight because I've already spoken at 2 other meetings, but I've gone back and forth throughout this whole evening deciding whether or not I would speak. Okay. So I wasn't going to speak tonight, but...
Mr. Counselor at Large, I wasn't going to say anything. I've been to every meeting.
I was not going to speak tonight, but I wasn't sure about speaking tonight, so many other people have spoken over the past several weeks.
The meeting had over 100 people in attendance, far more than the maximum occupancy of the small restaurant, which is 77. This was just inside the restaurant itself and does not account for the people crowding into the hallway outside the restaurant and the people outside of the building, listening in through the windows. These people all came with one major objective: to speak from their hearts to the mayor and the school committee regarding the unforeseeable future of the Leominster public school system. People from all ages and backgrounds came to speak on behalf of the students, teachers, and faculty members. Many of these people being parents, students, former students, residents, or faculty members themselves.
Good evening, Sandy Cucciara. I am English Department Chair at LHS, CTI, Senior Class CTI Advisor, and LEA Vice President. I have served 40 years as an educator, 27 of those in Leominster. I stand here to address the fiscal irresponsibility which has been allowed by members of this committee.
Mr. Sargent earlier described, I think, the situation here as a fiasco. I would say this is like way beyond a fiasco.
Mayor Mazzarella, members of the school committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm a 2001 graduate of Leominster High School. I've spent the last 12 years here teaching at the high school, trying to make a difference in a city I love.
Good evening. I am proud to say that I am a kindergarten teacher. I have been a kindergarten teacher for 13 years.
I am here tonight as a parent, but first of all, I am a social studies educator. And
for the past 16 years, I have taught theater at Leominster High School. I love my job, and I'm incredibly proud of the work my talented students produce every year.
I'm new here. I moved here 10 years ago. I have a daughter who's going into second grade at Fallbrook, another daughter who'll be coming in a year.
I'm here tonight to plead on behalf of the students and teachers here in Leominster.
Good evening. Chris Lord, Principal at Leominster High.
Over 48 people spoke before they closed the open forum. All of these people poured their hearts out to the committee and the mayor about how they are scared for the future, how they are angered by the lack of quality leadership, or how they could possibly solve the issues the school system is facing. They spoke about their at-risk jobs at the high school and how they feel the students are being wronged by the committee's budget and the cuts imposed by them and the mayor.
I'm the coordinator of the program for the most at-risk kids at the high school. We've had over 150 kids graduate in the past 8 years. Right now, our adjustment counselor is getting cut, and without that position, there really is no alternative ed program at the high school. She is the heart and soul of our program. Otherwise, I'm just a teacher in a room with a bunch of computers.
We need to find new sources of revenue, and I believe we need to do it in the fairest way possible that has the least amount of impact on working class families. So I'm hoping that in addition, I'm glad that you all supported a resolution to support the amendments to the foundation budget. But I really hope that you look at the Fair Share Constitutional Amendment and pass a resolution saying that the school committee supports the fairest way to make sure we're all paying our fair share so that we can have the money to invest not only in fixing the Chapter 70 formula, but making affordable, free public higher education a reality in Massachusetts.
We hear a lot about exceeding net school spending in Leominster. Take our exceeded amount of $59,569 and divide it by the 6,047 students enrolled last year. The per pupil expenditure for the exceeded amount of money over net school spending per student is $9.58.
It is truly unfair that students are going to receive the short end of the stick due to fiscal irresponsibility in the central office. And I know that life isn't always fair, but this is truly cruel. You were putting all of Leominster students at a disadvantage when auditioning for college programs and even just for life. The arts teach more than just how to paint, sing, and act. They teach patience, respect, responsibility, acceptance, and character. And what would life be like without those? You can tell me that you support the arts all you want to, but I'm not going to believe you until you show me.
Thank you.
What does the future hold for Leominster Public Schools?
If things can get back on track, I see Leominster hopefully getting back to a level 1 district. I think we'll see a a great boom in residents coming into the area, especially those who want to start a family or have small kids who want to come into the district, because we have great teachers in Leominster. We have some of the best here, and I know I received a really great education, and I'm really grateful for the teachers I've had and all the schools I've been to.